Good morning. Welcome to Occupy the Land, occupytheland.org. What we're doing here, I wanted to, when the shadows are longer, it's easier to show. This right here is a build up between this couple of acres of clearing that we've done. That is going to be up here is going to be the orchards, the tree planting, the food bearing fruit and so on. Now, as the water comes from these mountains, there's like 4 or 5 washes that feed into this area, and it's first going to go up here on the higher terrace. And you can see, I don't know if you can tell, it has a divider here. So this will flood first up here, and then the overflow will go into the storage area, which is down here. Now, I've been spending a lot of time removing soil from here that I need to build up between. I'll go show you between the shipping containers to raise that up as a floor. And I have the tractor. These Monteros, I had 4 of these. I still have 3 of them. They're in various different stages of it needs something. Fuel pump on one and another, the engine one. I just couldn't get rid of them because they're so goaty. They just freaking good. This particular model is a 97, 98 or something, and it won the Dakar Desert Race like 7 years in a row or something. I mean, it was just, and I can see why. Donna gets mad at me whenever we get a new vehicle. I test it, you got to hit the brakes hard. You kind of do fast, a little lane changing and a little 4-wheel driving if it's a 4-wheel and so on. And then you go get it aligned and stuff. But I want to know the capabilities. And this thing has never got stuck. It's just amazing. So I keep these around. I don't even think this one's registered. I think we just keep it on the land to do this kind of work. And you can fill this sucker up. Well, keep digging this down, and you can kind of get an idea. It's starting to get, low. But this will fill, just right here, this corner area is, oh man, you can get up to, 100,000 gallons of we can already support. So what we're going to go ahead and do is keep taking that wall back and using it. Fortunately, I need this soil. We need a lot to raise another foot on the house pad, which is, over there. And between the shipping containers, the workshops there, and the trailer, we have area where a big building is going to go, and we need to raise it up so that it doesn't flood. And it's already raised on pads that I've created over there. But this is, the rim around. This is the corner of the property right here, and the overflow will just continue, on its merry way. But this is where we're going to be putting the water tank. Now it's going to be buried under sand, and then we wrap it with hardware cloth and have it perforated, and then some activated charcoal and sand and whatever, and then we just fill it with sand that we process out of this with trommel that I got to build, which I need to have the workshop done. It's all electrified. I got the I was going to take you with that, just be too much of a thing, but we'll show you where we've been dumping it. Now, what we'll do is we got to build up the soil in different places so it doesn't flood. Now, the problem is that all the sand and gravel is in here, and I need a trommel. It's a spinning barrel that will separate the soil, and I can use it for everything. Now, fortunately, the way the desert is I have a lot of places that I can go that is already the regular erosion has separated it for me. I have down in the riverbed, which is way down there, because this flows down to the bottom of the valley. There is a river, and it has really fine sand for mortar and stuff like that. Then you have the wash sand that is wash sand. So it's tiny gravel and so on. Then you have the gravel, and there's really no rocks. I mean, every now and then you'll get a rock. Look, I have a rock. But generally it's alluvial floodplain, which is just erosion from these mountains, and it's pretty easy to dig. And you can see, it gets a lot of foliage. It'll start to dry out here after a while, but you can see even under these creosote, which is, you know, supposed to be poisonous to other wildlife, I mean, plants and so on, and they adapt. But you don't want to be using creosote to mulch, and, you know, that's one thing we're learning. You don't want to mulch that up. You know, use it to burn, or, you know, you can put it in compost piles kind of separate. But even the branches are saying is not good. But we have a lot of other trees and a lot of other foliage and so on that we do compost and wood chip. Now, this is what I'm building up. Now, we got our solar panels up. We got the electrical. I got electrical run over to there. I can do 220 and 110, all my equipment and everything. But this is what we're building up. Now, you can see that it's got the gap here, and I'm building this up to be at the bottom level, like here. Now, we'll be putting concrete here, and I need a pad. It'll be probably like a square or semicircle around here. Depends how I want to do it, but just to get started on a floor that will be in here. This is a floor that's raised up to put that red, those two red boxes there, have a building. And they're 30 by 60, yeah, I think it's 30 by 60 by 22 feet high. It's big. So it'll be where I can put all the attachments for the tractor and so on in the tractor and get it out of the sun and, you know, the weather. But, you know, so I have a lot to bring over here. I don't know how much you can tell from, you know, the camera here, but this is what I've been doing for last week, is just bringing over soil. So I need that sand dam over there to be able to have the soil to bring. That's a lot. You know, I'll probably do, I have no idea, you know, 50, 60 loads. And then we build it up here. And the reason we did this is I didn't want this to flood into the shipping containers. So I raised them up about, you know, 1.5 feet or something. And then I got to fill in the soil between them. And we can use this. Now, I have other things being stored at friends and family, and some of our vehicles that I want to have. It's going to be Ernie, they call it lay down yard, you know, so scrap yard, junk yard, whatever. It's resources. So these other Monteros that I have work. I just need to do some work on them and so on. I just don't need them right now. So we're going to go ahead and get them. And we have a 2500 Dodge pickup that had the engine go. So we, you know, need that for Donna's other big truck. We could use that for a lot of spare parts and so on, or get it going and running. But these are projects that get in the way of building, man. You know, we'll do that later. So this is what we're working on, is mainly the workshop area and everything, because I need it. I need all my welders and plasma cutters and fabrications and whatever doing that. But as we showed you before, you know, here's our power station. You know, we have the inverters and everything. Let's give you a quick look. But they, does that. Batteries, inverter, charge controller. Now this charge controller I got up there because we got a windmill. And it's a power windmill, generates that a little bit just to, when it blows out here and the wind gets going, it's frustrating as heck, it's blowing stuff around and so on. But when you got a windmill, not so bad. It's making power, cool. And then it makes power at night as well. So I have these posts. We were going to put the panels were going over there, but that building was going to come out and I had to move them anyway. So I took the post out, and we can put up some more panels for Donna over here. Now, she was kind of the mind yesterday. She goes, yeah, do that. Make me a power station. Make it go where? Show me which button to push. I go, no, 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 no. You're going to have, of all the electrical power, and she doesn't really understand what each component is, and don't want to know. I mean, I explained it to her, but it just, you know, she's not retaining it. So I go, nope, we have all this stuff. We'll put it on the workbench. We'll go through it. I'll show you how to do it, and then she will know, because she needs to know. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then she'll have a power station out here. Because I have the panels, I have charge controllers, I have the inverter, you know, that's made so she can get all the power she wants to run her water and be able to, you know, pump water here at our sink that we got, and that hasn't been set up yet. So we're going to go ahead, and when we both got time to go over and power this, we're going to go ahead and do that, and she gets an education. You know, she's rather, I just do it, but you know, it's necessary that you understand how this stuff works to be able to, you know, survive. And what's going on around the country, we're in this big polar vortex, freeze your butt off stuff. And my oldest daughter with her family, they have a fifth wheel with gazillion pop outs and their F-350, you know, they're pulling around. They're in Texas now, and they're like, damn, it is getting just, you know, rain and sleet and sub-zero temperatures, and you wake up with everything, ice skating rink and cars, you just sit there and wait until it's done. So they're in the middle of it, and I know a lot of people around the country are, and here, I mean, I wake up, it's cold, man. It's like going to be down in the 60s today. It's just so nice here, you know, and enjoy living in Arizona. Now, this is the pad where the house is going to go, the main build. And I have to keep, when I get done with all the soil around the workshop and everything, I got to do a gazillion loads here. I've already raised it about, I don't know, almost a foot probably. I don't know if you can see the ridge there. But this is where the water comes this way. So I need it to go around the house pad. So there is a wash over here, and then another one on the other side of that between the house pad and Donna's garden area. And this is where the water will go around it towards the sand pond. Now, I've only had like 1.5 good rains to be able to determine what happened, but it works. I mean, we had the laser level and we get it out and we kind of had a beat on it. So there wasn't really a lot I had to do. You know, like, you know, it comes down this, it goes through, and there's a piece of tin from a shack that's back there, old timers living back in the, yeah, these homes they got, you know, it's like 40s, 50s kind of stuff. I mean, it was a long time ago. They were out in the boonies doing open range. And this is the tractor. We were able to get this kind of backed up, and then it broke free here, which it has overflow. It needs to continue on to go down and do its thing in other places. But this is where the, you can see I kind of got it raised here. You know, when I got time, I always, you know, put a load here, a little bit more, block this off and so on. But this is exactly how it's supposed to work. The check dams go here in front of these washes, backs that all up, fills in the augered holes that we have in it. We put sand in it to keep them open, and then it just charges the soil, and it soaks up so much of it that, you know, you can go months, year, you know, with enough water to keep certainly the indigenous plants alive. And that's why we decided that down there, as part of the upper terrace for the sand dam area up there, that's where the orchard, all the water will go there and flood that first. So the check dams go here to hold this back, and then of course it'll fill up, and you know, a good storm will fill up like 10 minutes, and then it overflows and it'll go across the road here. Now, we've experimented. One of the first things we did, we started with the hyper adobe earth bags, and we stacked them here, and then we coated them with a stucco mix of basalt and fiberglass reinforcement fibers, and this has held up great. I don't have any cracks, or I mean, this is kind of how the exterior of the domes are going to be, at least until we find something better, but this is working out well. So this is one of the probably about 5 main washes, you know, 3 of the bigger ones, and we can use them to control the water to flood all this. That is the goal. And it's all these different things are in parallel. You know, it's like here's, you know, I started piling up, you know, some dirt, and this will get a big berm here that will interface with that, so it'll flood back there, and I got to do it along the right side of the road there. So it's all part of a plan, you know, and we're doing it. So I wanted to go ahead and just kind of show you where we're at now. Got a bunch of little video and so on, different things. There's Donna's car, her enclave. It didn't like the desert, but it's doing okay. We're gonna get rid of that and trade that in. It looks like I have a really nice big collating copier underneath there. I got to get that in one of the domes. That's going to be a project here in the next week or two. And then we have the backhoe attachment to the tractor. And this is Donna's, monster truck. And we have another one that we can use for, we need to get the running boards off of it and everything. And there's my, tool around truck, and I don't get to drive hers. I don't want to because I get blamed for everything. So I got my pickup. I'm good. So we eventually get back to this, but we're at the stage now of integrating the dome onto the top of that. We got to go 3 more layers to do what we want to do, and then we integrate that into the windows and doors. We got to start doing that. That's a lot of stuff, but I need the workshop. So I've been focusing, everything we've been doing is on getting that workshop done so that we can do all the stuff that we need to and fabricate and struts on the dome, stamp press and welding, plasma, blah, 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 blah. So that's what's going on. So in the meantime, we just enjoy it out here. Every day we get up, there's plenty to do. It's getting to the point to where there's a lot of maintenance. There's things like you got to tend the garden every day. I got to keep building more solar power stuff. The plumbing, it's not that bad. You get a windstorm, you got to clean up, whatever. Now, what we did is that dish used to be on top right there. But you walk around the bus and it would move the dish and it would break communication with the relay that's on that mountain right there. So what we've done is I put a railroad tie in and let it get all solidified and so on. And so that got solid. And then I took and put a aluminum tubing that I got a bunch of, and man, this stuff is awesome. I'm gonna run out of that one day and that's not gonna be good. But go ahead and screw that in there, put the dish, had it go to that mountain, and we're just gonna test it today. Johnson Eisen from the Economic Truth is coming on the show today, and he is the one that's created OuterNet, which is a mesh network that's been kicking butt. They came out and installed here, and we went on top of that mountain to put the relay. That was a thing. So that was, you go look at the videos, that was last March in 25, and it's been almost a year, and we're upgrading it because they took once they realized we could go 200 down and 100 up on speed, they went, whoa, we can really get some stuff. Okay, well, you guys work on it while I get other stuff done. So we're going to be talking about that today and actually making use of the mesh network. We've tested it and we use it and it's doing its thing, but we need to get it to where actually neighbors can start using it. Now this is where we're going to test a potato garden. We're just going to put a bunch of potatoes here because it stays moist long time. When you scrape down the soil, you can see that it's charged, and you only go down, I don't know, 6 inches or so, and it's just wet ground. This is we got to separate out the creosote. We don't want to put that in there. We just use that for a burn pile. But there's a lot of wood. We have for making decorative things, branches that we would use for post and integration into the build and so on. So kind of separate that out, and then the rest of it, I think this is ironwood here, and a lot of this stuff is just firewood that we have plenty of, and we got so much more to do. But the creosote, we got warned about that. You shouldn't be using that in composting and so on. So we generally just burn it, and it's a thing. What we're going to go ahead and do is, we have grandkids, they want to get paid for something. Can we go out and get paid? Yes, you can. And what they could do, and they have an endless supply of it, is all this dead branches and stuff around these. And that's what makes your tires flat. And you go up against, these branches, they just go right through tires. So you can see all that dead stuff around these branches. We trim that off with hedge trimmers and, chainsaws and whatever. We'll get them out here, and we've already done it. And you can craft these into like hedges. You know, you trim them back and then kind of keep them low and let them flow. They'll turn into a ball. You know, it's amazing. I've seen guys that are showing me that, and I said, oh, okay, we can do that, but where? You know, well, a lot of it around where we spend a lot of our time, like that building pad. That is where the home is going, and we get that view and the other views around. It's going to be awesome. It took a long time, you know, for us to select exactly where we wanted it to go, and it just kind of develops organically. And I'm liking that. You know, you really spend some time on the land and where you want it to be and how the roads naturally kind of develop and so on, and it becomes a thing. Then you go here, 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 and here, and it makes sense, and it works. Now on the other side over there is the runway, you know, that kind of go around, walk over there, and then we'll end it. But I wanted to have the runway because I wanted to do exploring here. I used to fly ultralights back, God, 35 years ago or something, and I really liked it. And, you know, Donna is a parachutist. You know, she's, now, my grandma goes parachuting, you know, and we have the kids go out their first solos and all that kind of stuff. So every now and then she'll go parachute just to get her adrenaline up. And it changed her. I mean, she'd be a lot more confident. Hey, you first. I'm good. I've done a tandem once before there. I did it. Get off my butt. But, you know, I always wanted that silent. I used to fly sailplanes, too, when I was young. When I was like 13, 14, I learned to fly sailplanes. My dad was a pilot, and I just always wanted to do that. But it's not quiet. And, you know, ultralights aren't quiet. Parachuting isn't quiet. Hot air balloons, that's the only time you ever get some quiet. You do bubbles, and you just, big soap bubbles, you just kind of float with them. They don't go anywhere. It's like you're a bubble with it. That was the experience I was looking for. So I'm like, cool, got that under my belt. But I like going up and down, being mobile, and see from the air ultralights. So that's what this is for. This is for us, and we'll get it all trim back where we need to and everything, and got plenty of room for landing. My son does paragliding, you know, the big, you know, like parachute, parasail, whatever they call it, and he's always eyeballing Courthouse Rock there. He's like, ooh, I could go off of that. But he has a winch on his truck, and his brother comes out with him, and they kind of go out here and have some fun. Then this road here that kind of veers off to the left, that was the first road onto the land. That's when we, you know, kind of dodging creosote, it just kind of naturally evolved. And this, where this dome is, you know, the panel between that and that enclave vehicle is at the center of the property. That is the center. Now this side, we haven't developed at all, other than that road and then the border roads that, you know, perimeter of the property. Now there are some other trees, you know, around, and we're going to be planting more, and they grow, you give them water, they grow really fast. So we have a lot of other areas that we could have, you know, just nice picnic areas, isolated. Another home, my sisters may retire out here. We have other family, you know, my mom might need some help, and I got, I don't know, probably at least 7 acres all over here that's undeveloped that we can do whatever. So we're focusing on this half, on this other side of this runway here is where we're doing a lot of the infrastructure and the building and getting all our goodies. So we had our first holidays here. It looks like the family, you know, we couldn't drag them out here, and now they're, you know, thinking about Easter. You got the extended family coming. It's not as bad as they thought. But, you know, the wind, we got to make sure you're able to block the wind, because in, you know, February to April, around in there is about 6 weeks of, it's really windy, which is one reason why I have a windmill. You don't complain about it as much. Now this, all the drainage comes this way. It's all set up to go to that corner of the property and not go off the land until it hits that corner. Now this right here is one of the main washes that comes through the property. Then we kind of back it up here so it'll do this. You know, it starts to fill in these holes and so on, so it charges the ground. So then it flows here and around camp here, and then it makes it on the other side of the solar panels over there around the bus. It goes in the sand pond. Eventually everything goes to the sand pond, and from the runway it comes through here and it goes that way. So I capture it all. 18 acres of water. I don't even need it. They could isolate it and put a wall around the property and everything, and just the water I get on 18 acres. 7 inches over 18 acres is like a year. A lot, a whole lot, especially when we got it to where we want it to saturate up there anyway, without having to pump it from here. And then it goes into that upper terrace, and that's where we want the water for the fruit trees and everything anyway. So I'm really not seeing a big giant power demand of distributing water around, because that's why we do these IBC totes. We just go around with the trailer and fill those up. And this is the construction water that we have. We just fill that up and we move it around wherever we're doing construction. We need that for like the concrete and so on. Now in there, that's a table saw that's in there, and that's a chop saw. And we got some stuff and tools and stuff up here, and we're going to get back to it. Now we have over here these 3 wagons are what we're going to use to separate all of the soil in the trommel. I have to build it to these because I want to be able, it's processing, and you just pull the wagon out, dump it in a big pile, and you just keep doing that, so I don't have to move the trommel around all the time. And these bikes are awesome. We scored on that. They wouldn't deliver or couldn't or lost it, and we got refunded for 2 of the bikes. And then they said, well, if they come, you can keep them. So we got those free, and then we had to buy, they're cheaper ones, but these are pimp. We got 2 of these, and it's just so convenient just to go tooling around. Now, Donna, we decided we were going to empty it, but everybody's like, why? So we put a cover on it, and then we got like 3,500 gallons, here or more that we got as backup, and we just checked the water and chemicals and everything on it a couple days ago, and it was fine. It's great, clear. So as long as you keep it covered, doesn't get light in there, you're doing pretty good. This is just so nice. I mean, this is where we come out. That is you take the top off, and it's a fire pit, and we got a little fireplace over there. We put the chairs on around it and so on, and just enjoy ourselves. We're really liking Arizona is outdoor living. It's really about that. Now this comes off, so it's got a little fireplace thing. Yeah, it doesn't throw a lot of heat. So what we do is we get those little propane Mr. Buddies and put around people's feet, because it was cold a couple of nights, and we still like it out here. Well, this is what we're doing. This is how we're living, and it doesn't suck. It's just not that bad. Now, one thing it's called a fuel keg, and we need to just make sure the fuel buddy, we always want that, be comfortable. So it's a lot cheaper than buying these canisters. They've gone up. Oh my God, they're just stupid. But you refill them. We get 4 of those little tanks, and we just refill it, and it takes a minute, and we're good. So this, and then we put up this shading if we need it, when Donna wants shade over her outdoor kitchen as we're entertaining and so on. So life does not suck while everybody's freezing their butt off around the country, and a lot of economic problems are coming. Silver and gold spike is just a sign of abandonment of the fiat system, is kind of what we were doing this for, in preparation for more self-sustainability, individual liberty, self-responsibility, taking care of it yourself. 2 is 1, 1 is none kind of thing. And it's just been a really good experience. And I encourage you guys to keep track of us. occupytheland.org. Peace.